name is Emile Johannes. I'm a sales director here at MEWS, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about creating memorable guest experiences and guest journeys in today's digital age. Some trends we're seeing, and very curious how this resonates with you guys. Oh, this one I can pick it up. Fantastic. Fantastic. So, can I use this microphone? Because I like to move around. Thank you very much. Okay, so personalizing guest experiences and hitting your revenue goals, that's kind of been a challenge, right? How do you make sure that you personalize and at the same time make sure that that personalization actually leads to additional revenue? So we've seen a couple of challenges and a couple of things that work here. One of them is outdated systems. According to a study of the IDC, about 20 to 30% of annual revenue is lost simply from inefficiencies. Not being able to leverage that data that you're all collecting and ensuring that you figure out, oh, that guest has stayed with us 17 times, and every single time they come, the first thing they want is a Negroni when they get to the bar. But every single time, the guest has to tell you, I would love to have a Negroni. Now, if you could figure that out, know that beforehand, and are actually enabling your staff to see that information and pick up on that quickly, you're going to be able to, well, give them a better experience. Besides that, customization demand, it seems that only 23% of guests are actually experiencing personalization, which would suggest that there's an opportunity of over 70% to personalize more, figure out what the guest wants at what time, so that you can offer him that specific experience and at the same time, again, increase the revenue. And the final thing is market volatility. Apparently, and I'm not a revenue manager, so I would need someone to confirm this, but revenue managers spend a lot of their time doing manual tasks, updating systems, making sure that the strategy that they've set out at the beginning of the year is actually able to be executed, whilst at the same time seeing dynamic changes in the market, a Taylor Swift concert coming in, and being able to action that information right away to, well, make sure your yield strategy works, and that you're, again, maximizing revenue while still providing a great experience for your guest. So I'll be taking you through a couple of case studies that we've seen today where we feel they're doing a great job. So the first one here is the Gate Cornwall. So what they've done is they've essentially automated payments and online check-ins, and they've eliminated front desk queues because guests don't have to show up, go to your front desk, and re-enter essentially all the information, or have a front desk agent have to clarify and double check, is everything that you've told us before still the same situation? Now, instead of the guest or the employee being in the computer, they can focus on the guest, maybe look at that data, see that that person actually wanted that Negroni, and say, hey, sir, I know it's 11 a.m., but it seems that in the past you've had Negronis at 10, so maybe you would like one right now. Besides that, 42% of all that, well, let me put it this way. One of the results that they are seeing is that 42% of all their bookings are now direct. 42% of bookings being direct. I think that's a dream for every single hotelier. We all know the amazing commissions that OTAs take, but ideally we want OTAs to be the, the sales team that bring in the guest the first time, and after that you want to keep bringing them back. And how do you do that? Well, through personalization, through knowing what the guest wants and what they had in their previous experience, and essentially making sure that you can get those special extras, like, well, in this case, they've got champagne, upgrades, and late checkouts. If you've seen that guests are asking for this in past stays, why not offer it to them proactively and make sure that they know it's possible? Now, the best benefit probably is that this property now enjoys a 5-star Google rating, and I think we all know with reviews it's pretty hard to reach that rating, but they did a very, very good job here. So there are a couple of ways that hotels are finding ways to increase and improve their bottom line. So essentially, driving productivity through automation, right? Getting all those repetitive tasks, be it your revenue manager or your front office agent that's just doing data entry at the beginning of the guest stay, instead of being actually able to focus on your core business, which is providing hospitality for that guest. Providing hospitality through personalization, through knowing what it is that that guest essentially wants. Now, my grandfather, when he would go into any restaurant for the first time, he would always leave an obscenely big tip. And I never understood why he did that. Now, rest his soul, he's passed now, but he was from the 1920s. And what he would tell me is, Emile, when I give this tip to that waiter is going to remember me because this is a disproportionately big tip. That worked about 10% of the times because staff would change continuously. But he wouldn't give up. He would keep doing this because he came from a time where the staff was the same. They would be the same person for 20 years, and they would know this gentleman here, he wants to have this, this, and this. His wife would like to have the fish, and they're going to be here at 11, and they'll be out by 11:45. Make sure the check's ready. You can't expect that from your employees today. The employees don't know that this is actually happening. So by using that data and leveraging that data and serving it up to the employees at the right time, where instead of doing data entry, the employee gets a suggestion and says, hey, this guest has had a Negroni every week at 11 a.m., maybe we should offer that to them right now. Now, bringing those two things together, you essentially maximize what you can from their guest journey. You're offering guests what they want, when they want it. Of course, there is a fee attached to that, but the guest doesn't mind. The guest is mainly happy that they get that fee, or get that, not the fee, get that personalized experience right away. Now, there are a couple of interesting ways that you can offer affordable luxury to your guests, and we're seeing a couple of interesting ones here. So, on request in-room gym equipment. So there's a lot of people that are doing CrossFit these days. They're not looking for the super extensive gyms with all the big tools and technology. No, what they want is just a set of free weights in their room so that they can do their workout in the morning and don't have to worry about anything, don't have to leave the room, go into the shower. Hands-free spa treatments, potentially booking local education experiences. Maybe I've heard a lot about charities and the different charities you support. I'm sure that a lot of guests would love to see what those charities are actually doing and maybe go on an experience trip and see where their charitable donations are actually going so that they see right away what it is that they're adding to. Other than that, chefs offering wellness gastronomy menus. I'm honest, I don't know what that exactly means, but I would really love to find out and experience it for myself. And then finally, this is my favorite one, a rentable mini cinema or an event space where you can just have a cozy movie night with 2 to 4 people and really, make that a nice personal experience for yourself. Now, there's a couple of ways of doing this, and we find that cloud-native solutions tend to help improve this customer experience, not because it's in the cloud, but because everyone has access to that specific data. And what it really does is it helps increase your efficiency by up to 24%. You could enable up to 100% of digital check-ins, and again, a digital check-in would allow the guest to check and validate all that data so that the time that they actually arrive to the front desk, everything's going to be sorted, their drink's going to be ready, and they're going to have a fantastic stay. And finally, optimize your staff task assignments, right? If we know what the guest is going to want beforehand, we can make sure that there's a staff ready to provide that, rather than on the fly having to find someone to get that specific cocktail for the guest. I'm talking a lot about Negronis. You guys can see what I want. Okay, the next example I here have is the Bush Farnham Hotel. So what they've done is they've successfully connected their F&B system with their PMS system, essentially allowing them not only to capture all the data, but enabling them to allow guests to walk in, have a seamless experience, put it directly on the room, and never ever have to show a card or any kind of payment thing that kind of creates a friction. Guests want a seamless journey. They don't want to think about what they're spending. They want to think about the great things that they get to consume. They enable this through digital bill splitting, tipping, automated payments, and anything that's linked to that guest profile, because that's where all your information sits. That's how the past stays were recorded, and why not make sure that our staff knows about this? What they've seen is a 13% increase in ADR and a 13% booking conversion rate increase. This is for direct bookings, right? We want to get more direct bookings and ideally get to that 42% that I was talking about in an earlier slide. Now, how can we make sure that we take this further? So we've heard I think we just heard in the previous panel talking about guest messaging and WhatsApp requests and things like this. You can combine the both of them. So what Oderberger has done in combination with Dialog Shift is they've created a chatbot that answers about 97% of the questions that guests have. What time is check-in? Can I arrive early? Is there a restaurant on site? Things that are probably sitting within your FAQ, but these days people just want to be able to send a message somewhere and get the answer right away. Essentially giving them a concierge level experience. Now, when you get to the 3% of questions that you can answer by that chatbot, it just goes straight away to an employee or someone that's in charge of the guest experience team. They can analyze that message with that human perspective and say, okay, we understand what this guest wants, and I think we can actually provide that whilst immediately providing an answer to the guest through WhatsApp or whatever the preferred medium is. Now, what this does is that 70% of remaining queries are literally answered within 10 minutes by the hotel. No managing, no early breakfast meetings, having to go through all the stats. Everyone has this information at their fingertips. Why would we need to schedule meetings to go through this information if we can just get it right away? Now, I haven't mentioned this one yet. This is probably in every single presentation today. AI is no silver bullet. I'm seeing the word AI be used everywhere. Usually people like to use AI when they've identified the problem, figured out what's complicated, and then don't know the solution, and they'll say AI is going to go fix this. That's not how it works, and as it says here, AI is no silver bullet. I wholly believe that, yes, AI is probably the future, and we're seeing fantastic developments on that space, but honestly, it's not AI that's going to automate your journey. You can automate a lot of stuff without AI. Just setting up your processes in the right way, making sure that your staff is enabled, that they don't have to go in system A, B, and C to figure out what is it that that guest wants. If everything's connected into a single guest profile, it's essentially going to make it easier for everybody to do so. And AI, yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be cool, but we don't need it for everything. Automation gets you a very, very long way. Now, this is a nice one. Empowers staff to personalize guest experience. Good morning, sir. Your room is ready, and your favorite meal, well, in my case, Negroni, will be there in 5 minutes. Yeah, you can do this. You can make sure that your guests are personally helped this way. Now, how can we make that captured data more actionable? So you want to be able to answer easy questions. That's at 97% of generic questions that guests always seem to ask. Yes, check-in is almost always at 3 and checkout is almost always at 11, but still you'll see guests that want to ask that question and get that answered quickly. Have the ability to search your occupancy super fast. Now, you already know the guest is throwing up, but you all probably offer a lot of additional services. If it's wellness treatments, spa treatments, maybe the guest has figured out that they want to have a last-minute meeting and they need 7 parking spots for their colleagues to show up. If you have all that inventory and occupancy data at your fingertips, you're going to be able to action it much quicker and actually help the guest in the moment with what they need, rather than saying, I'll have to come back to you later. It helps you identify patterns in data. What is it that they keep on asking for? What are the things that they want? What is the special pillow fluff? What is the specific temperature that they would like to have in their room? All of these things, you can identify them through data, but you need to make it actionable for your employees and for your systems. Generate quotes in real time. Again, I have 7 colleagues coming over. They need parking spots. I need to have a full table dinner with a 3-course meal, and I want to make sure that we have some entertainment at the end of the day. Oh, and let's not forget, it's going to be stressful, so let's see if we can book some massages. All of that could be done in one system just by having all that inventory and all that availability or occupancy data in a single place. Allowing your employee to generate a quote in real time, making sure that that guest, while they're in the moment of wanting to do that thing, wanting to pull that trigger, potentially even being impulsive, being able to say, yes, that sounds like a great idea, this is what I want. And of course, additionally, the guest might come up with a lot of things, but it's your staff that actually knows what are the best experiences at your hotel. So being able to suggest those ideas to guests and make sure that you actually have availability along your experiences, it's going to be very powerful and help your staff think through problems faster. Another example here at the Region Cambridge, where staff now focus on guest experiences, once again, thanks to embedded payments, self-check-in kiosks that essentially deliver major product and time gains. You can imagine you walk into this property, you do your entire check-in, and you might have a couple of hosts around, and those hosts are actually there to ask you, how's your day been, how are you, how's been your travel, with fully meaning that, and then having the opportunity for guests to reply and potentially figure out where's the mood of that guest at, and how can your host help them have a better experience through the beautiful properties that you have and all the services you offer. The guest doesn't know everything by heart. That's your employees. Your employees want to have the time to recognize where the guest is in their emotional mindset and make sure that you service and help them as best as possible. So what they've seen is a 26% increase in occupancy, and that's probably not just their hotel bookings, but also the services that they offer, and of course a 21% increase in RevPAR because, well, you've added on a couple of extra services, the guest has had a better experience, they leave a fantastic review, and at the bottom line, you've actually upsold a lot of services, maybe doubled the revenue you would have had if you only had done the room. Now, in a dynamic market, agility is key. I know that I said earlier on that AI is the thing where we're going to, and there's a lot of things that we can do, and I still believe 90% of what we're doing today, we could probably do that through automation. We don't necessarily need AI for that. That doesn't mean that AI is not going to play a significant role in the future. We're already seeing it on a day-to-day basis. I use ChatGPT on a daily basis to ask whatever questions. I put it on in the car and I just start discussing with it and trying to figure out things that I would usually have to stop for, scroll through my phone and do things on. Now, when I say in a dynamic market, agility is key, you want to be able to experiment with different things. And you're going to need a platform that allows you to experiment with those different tools, integrations, and services. Now, that could be an automation integration. It could be an AI integration. It could be a guest messaging tool that, as I said earlier, talks with your guests, answers 97% of questions, and identifies when it is there's something they really need a human to help answer and service that guest. For those of you who have been to MEWS presentations before, this will probably not be an unfamiliar slide. But essentially, what we like to say is that everyone has beautiful properties, and those properties, they tend to center around the stay, the night. But there's a lot of additional services that you offer. You have meeting and event spaces. You have, well, parking spaces in city destinations, right? It's a big thing. Wellness treatments, a plethora of different options and services that you could essentially offer to your guests. And if you have a tool or a service or a system that allows you to see that inventory, that allows you to make those decisions quick, help the guest understand what you can do for them, and then action, that's what you need. It can boost your occupancy. You can see up to, well, here we have 35% increase in RevPAR and 37% in ADR. I think the point I'm trying to make here is that if we get away from focusing on just our rooms revenue and we start leveraging all the other services that we have through input information that we know from previous days, through empowering our staff to actually offer those things right away, that's where you're going to get that increase from. ADRs go up, but they're only going to go up so much. There's a lot of other services, and I think if you look at the occupancy data of your other services, I think that's where the massive potential is. Now, yeah, monetizing all your existing resources. Take payments for more spaces, right? It's not just the room. Be able to offer and book a parking spot right away. Be able to offer a co-working desk. Maybe you have meeting rooms that are not being used right now. You could actually use them as a mini cinema that we were talking about earlier. There's many ways to use the beautiful spaces that you have in your property and make sure that you offer them to the guests. Give them the opportunity and empower your staff to help use those spaces. Leverage more occupancy. So again, what we see here in the bottom, it's not just about the nights, but it's also about hours, weeks, and months. There's a lot of different ways that you can leverage your space and a lot of different time slots, and essentially that you can do that. So make sure that your system allows you to do so. Right, here comes that RevPAR thing I'm talking about. What we see at MEWS is, well, all the way on the end, we see a potential of 191 million in extra revenue, and that's just based on our on the customers that we're working with. But it's through all these extra services that we have, right? We have the activities, experiences, conference and meeting rooms, event venues, spas, day bedrooms. That's the big one. That's up to 72 million in potential there. Public spaces desks. This is the occupancy we should look at. I think we're all very good at getting to our 80, 90% occupancies and really making sure that our yield strategy works well there. But what does our occupancy look like for all of the other services that we have? Are we actually maximizing what we want from there? So, make the most of a comprehensive ecosystem. It could be MEWS, it could be any other system that you work with, but I think what you want is the ability to pivot quickly, to experiment with different integrations and features, to make sure that you're always at the cutting edge of technology, empowering your staff, and making sure that your guests have a premium stay, are not worried about spending that extra money, but actually want to come back because that guy that I perceived gave a tip of that's disproportionate from is having a great time. This hasn't been the best presentation for me. I had a very, very long night, and I've been talking about Negronis all day long. What I'm trying to say here is, think on your feet, think about all the different stakeholders you have. It's not just about the guests, it's not just about the employees, it's about bundling all of that, giving all the information and accessing it, and making sure that you can offer a personalized guest experience for all your guests going forward and in the future. Thank you very much, and look forward to speaking to you all later.